And I remember thinking, well, why not just demonstrate a parking space near the yogurt shop? But Nordstrom had some kind of significance for her, and I was only an intern, so I had no right to question her. All right. God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. What does this mean for us? Well, initially, it allows us to contemplate our nature vis-a-vis the divine nature. Ernest Holmes describes spirit as the center and circumference of everything, as a way of explaining unity to us as his readers, as his students, as his followers. He says that if God is all, there can be nothing else. Everything that exists must have its being in God. And this includes us, every single person. And since we have our being in God, it follows that we must partake of its nature. Infinite intelligence is the origin of everything. And the energy of God is always finding an outlet in and through everything that lives. So the life we are living right now is the divine life manifesting through us. It's our individual imprint on the divine as it moves into life and being through us. If that were not the case, we would not be. But we are, aren't we? I mean, I am, you are, we all are. And Dr. Holmes says that since we are, then we are real and actual and have existence. And since we can reduce all that is to a fundamental unit, we find that we have this proposition, and I quote, "There is spirit or indivisible cause and nothing, out of which all things are to be made. Spirit plus nothing leaves spirit only. Hence, there is one original cause and nothing out of which everything is made, out of which we are made." This is wonderful, right? It's a strong argument for unity, for the nature of our being. And now that we know this, we get to stand around and hold hands and sing and be happy forever. Yeah. No, not here. That's not my idea of a good time anyway. But let me tell you what is. Making intelligent use of infinite intelligence. That's how we roll at CSL Fremont. Making intelligent use of infinite intelligence. Because the whole point of espousing a belief in unity and rejecting duality is to empower us to consciously initiate new lines of causation via our thought. So if we truly understand what it means to have our existence within the one, within God, we can only conclude that wherever we are, all the power in the universe stands ready to spring into manifestation by means of us. Think about that. There's a wonderful book entitled The Hidden Heart of the Cosmos. How many of you are familiar with it or have read it? Or are familiar with the work of the author Brian Swimme? So in this fantastic book, Brian Swimme claims that any place in the universe can be understood as the very spot at which the universe began, because every point was part of the one point we call the Big Bang. It's deep. Professor Swimme writes, "We exist then at the very origin point of the universe, because every place in the universe is that place the universe flared forth into existence." So basically, he is saying that all the inherent potential in that primordial event we call the Big Bang still exists 13.7 billion years later, right here and right now, and everywhere, at every point. Can you see how this parallels our thinking about God and our relationship to it? We could even paraphrase swim to put forth a compelling statement about the essence of our being and our power to create our lives. Let's try that. We exist at the very origin point of God because every place in God is that place where God flames forth into existence. It works, doesn't it? Not just for cosmologists, but for religious scientists. It works. Dr. Holmes says it this way: God is that whose center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere. All of God is present at any and every point within itself. It is not approaching a point or receding from it, but always at the point. The whole of God is present at any and every point within God. That's a really intelligent way of saying there's not a spot where God is not. There's not a spot where the entirety of God is not. All of God is present in every point, all the time. And here's where we get to make some educated assumptions about the power of our own thought and the efficacy of our word spoken in prayer as an extension of our thought. We have our thought, we have our knowing, we have our realization, and then we speak our word in prayer to put it into action. How does this work? Well, in order to think, we're required to use the faculty of mind. And when we use the faculty of mind, it's our individual use of the divine mind, because there's only one. It all turns on the truth of unity. Without unity, none of this makes sense. And it does, and we see it working, and we see it manifesting for us. So we know it must be true. Spirit is the original and all-pervading substance. Its essence is inherent in all life. Its energy is expressed not only as all potential, but as all form. And guess what? We are the channel through which this expression happens. Without us, it has no place to go. It has no body to be. It has no life to live. So we are a crucial part of this whole thing. Making intelligent use of infinite intelligence means recognizing the nature of God, then recognizing the nature of our own being in relationship to it, and then seizing on the opportunity to participate in causation. How many of you woke up this morning and said, I am ready to participate in causation? Penny did. Well, that's why she sounded so fantastic this morning, isn't it? Okay. As students of truth, we spend a lot of time studying principle. And then we spend at least an equal amount of time, if not even way more time, learning to apply it. And for the most part, we do that not necessarily selfishly just to make our own lives better or more wonderful than they already are, if they're already wonderful, but that's just what we do. It's a highly individual type of teaching, and we take responsibility for ourselves in our own lives. But since today is 9/11, I want to talk about how our enlightened action serves all humanity. Because it can, without a lot of extra effort, actually. We're very fortunate to live in a time of expanding consciousness. In our own society, we see a trend toward caring more about other people, about the planet, and about peace. How many of you were here last Wednesday night for the Tizay Peace Service? Oh, my word. Wasn't it wonderful? Can we do it again? It was wonderful. We have a whole month of peace on Wednesday nights in September. So we see this happening. We hear it in the way people are talking. Our language is even changing so that phrases like global heart and going green have become part of our vernacular, right? I mean, 5 years ago, not many people knew about going green or what it meant. oh, I think I'm turning into a Martian. No, it means you're recycling and maybe turning lights out, or your corporation is becoming more conscious about waste or that kind of thing. So as a collective, we are finally realizing that our own choices and decisions and actions have implications far beyond our personal sphere. The center and circumference axiom reflects this. And whether it's being appropriated in science or philosophy or religion, it entails a notion of compression and radiation, if you will. This is the only way I know how to describe it to illustrate compression and radiation. The universe or God or energy or whatever you want to call it comprises infinite points of infinite potential. Okay, so the center's everywhere, infinite points of infinite potential. And each of these infinite points of infinite potential is a radiant sphere whose boundary is indeterminable. So the circumference is nowhere. We can't measure it, we can't see it, we can't find it.